This video is all about hot tub foam, what it is, what causes it, and how to get rid of it, and what the difference is between foam and bubbles. We're covering all of that and more right now. So hot tub foam is an indicator of a chemical imbalance in your hot tub. One of the most common causes of it is pH levels that are too high. In other words, too alkaline. But also it can be caused by excess amount of like body oils and lotions and shampoos and things. All of that stuff flakes off of our skin each and every time we get in the hot tub. And so you're going to see some of that build up over time, especially if you're not right on top of your water chemistry and cleaning your filters and things like that. But that can also be a cause. Other causes can include calcium levels that are too low. In other words, water that is too soft. Calcium levels in water is what is referred to as hard water. In other words, if it has a lot of calcium, it's hard water. If it doesn't, it's considered soft water. A lot of us prefer soft water for drinking. That's why we have water softener systems in our house. It can also be easier on things like the water system in your refrigerator and shower heads and things like that. However, for a hot tub, you want the water to be right in the middle. You don't want it to be too soft or too hard. And I have fairly hard water, in other words, high levels of calcium coming out of my garden hose. But if you have water that is too soft, or if your garden hose is coming off of a water softener system, then your water may be too soft, in which case that can also lead to foam in a hot tub. Lastly, the other thing that can affect foam in a hot tub and cause foam in a hot tub is something called total dissolved solids. So every time you get into the hot tub and there's a little bit of sand on your feet or dirt on your feet or dirt on your skin, or you've got some leaves or bugs and things that fall into here, and eventually the bubbles may get them ground up into fine particles and you don't even really notice it necessarily, but those are called total dissolved solids, sometimes abbreviated as TDS. And over time, those can also lead to hot tub foam, particularly if you're not on top of your hot tub filter maintenance and keeping those filters clean, because those things are designed to kind of filter out the total dissolved solids and keep those levels at a fairly low level. We're going to get into all the solutions for those problems next. Now, one thing you might be wondering is whether or not you have to drain your hot tub and start fresh if you have a problem with foam in your hot tub. And the short answer is not necessarily. It really depends upon how bad the foam is, whether the water also smells and is discolored. If the water's in really bad shape, you're going to want to do what's known as a biofilm clean out. I have a video about how to do that step by step. I'll link to that down below in the description. I'll also put a card for it at the end of this one. But if you've never done a biofilm clean out and you haven't watched that video, you're going to want to do that each and every time you drain your hot tub, which should be about every 3 months or so. So if you haven't drained your hot tub in a while and the water's in really bad shape, go ahead and drain it, start fresh, do that biofilm clean out that I talk about in my other video. That's definitely going to put you on the right track. However, if the water's in relatively good shape, you can skim off some of the excess foam. Then you're going to want to make sure you balance the water perfectly. I like to start by balancing the alkalinity. You'll never get the pH right if you don't also have the alkalinity right. So I like to start with the alkalinity. Often they need to go in the same direction, but I do have a recent video that talks about the issue of what happens if your pH needs to go up and your alkalinity needs to go down, or vice versa. So check out that video if you haven't seen that one, if you have that problem. But I like to start with the alkalinity, then I balance the pH. If your pH is above 7.8, in other words, it's very alkaline, you're definitely going to have a problem with hot tub foam. So get the alkalinity right, then balance out that pH. Then you can go ahead and treat the water with sanitizer and shock. I like bromine for my sanitizer, chlorine for my shock. But once you get those things set and your filters are clean, go ahead and run a filter cycle. Like I said, if you've already scooped out all the excess foam, that really should take care of the problem. So in a minute, I'm going to show you exactly what my hot tub looks like with the jets on, so you can see the difference between bubbles and foam. A lot of people get those two things confused because they do look similar. As you can see right now, my water is relatively clear, maybe not pristinely perfect. I've had the cover off for a while as I got ready to prepare for this video, but it's pretty good. And then you'll see when I turn those jets on exactly what it looks like, but that's coming up in a minute. First, I want to mention that in most cases, hot tub foam, while maybe not enjoyable to soak in, is not going to be dangerous. That's especially true if you've dipped a test strip in, you've checked the water out, the pH and the alkalinity and the chlorine content and bromine are all relatively good levels. If that's true, it's not going to be dangerous to soak in, just maybe unpleasant. But right now, we're going to talk about what to do if your water is too soft, and that's what's leading to your foam problem. So you'll know if your water is too soft one of two ways. One, whoever you get your water from, whether that's well water or a city, they may tell you, and your neighbors may already know, oh, our water here is really soft. So that's one way. The other way is I like to check the shower heads in my house and just kind of see if there's any calcification that's happening right around the jets and the nozzle. That's going to be like a kind of a white flaky buildup. If you're seeing a lot of that, that means your water is hard. In other words, it has high levels of calcium, in which case soft water is probably not the issue for you. But if you have a water softener system on your house, and like I mentioned earlier, especially if that water softener system feeds your garden hose water, you may very well have water in your hot tub that's too soft, in which case you simply need to add a product designed to boost the calcium levels. I'm going to link to my favorite one on Amazon down below in the description, but that's an easy fix if that's the case. Okay, you're probably noticing a very loud, what sounds like a chainsaw or maybe a blower in the background. My neighbor just decided to do something, but there's no excuses in hot tubbing or rock and roll, so the show must go on. Okay, so I mentioned earlier I was going to show you the difference between foam and bubbles. Right now, as you can see, my hot tub is fairly clear. For some reason on camera, the water always looks a lot bluer than it does here in real life. But as you can see, there's not really a lot of debris or foam floating on the surface of the water. There's a little bit more than I'd like, but it's not bad. I always have the hot tub turned off for these videos because I don't want the filter cycle to suddenly kick on and make a lot of noise like my neighbor's doing over there. So I'm going to turn my hot tub on, then I'm going to turn on every jet and water feature that I have so you can see how much kind of foam and bubbles it kicks up. Then I'll turn it back off again and you can see how quickly it dissipates. That way you know if you have a foam problem or just have bubbles, because if you just have bubbles, they will go away on their own. You won't have to do anything and they won't last that long once the jets are off. Foam will linger and just stay there. So let's do that now. So as you can see, all of the bubbles and water features are now going. They're kicking up a lot of bubbles. There's a lot of air being pumped into that water. You can see around the perimeter of the hot tub, it looks a little bit like almost like soap residue maybe, or kind of the way it looks when the ocean waves crash at the beach at the ocean. I'm going to let this go just another second or so, and then I'm going to turn it all off. All right, let's turn it off. I'm going to go ahead and cut the power again just so the filter cycle doesn't kick on us. And I'm going to speed up the film a little bit so you're not sitting here bored, but you'll see in just a short period of time, this water will get crystal clear again, and all of that foam and those bubbles will go away. And if I wouldn't get sued, I would play the Jeopardy music right now, but don't want to get sued. No excuses in hot tubbing. Let's go. So I don't want to bore you to tears, because I know if we waited just a few more minutes, the water would look even clearer than it does now. But as you can see, it's back to being 95% as clear as it was before we turned anything on. I probably do need to go through here with my skimmer net, kind of get rid of a few of these things that have gotten in here since I've had the cover off for the last hour. But my long-winded point was there really isn't much left in the way of foam compared to bubbles, and you want to make sure you know the difference so you can identify whether or not you have a problem. So the very last thing I wanted to cover, and I alluded to this earlier, was whether or not it's okay to add bubble bath to your hot tub. Honestly, I see it a lot on social media. People with hot tubs just full of bubbles, piling over, and they're having a party with their college buddies and whatever, and everybody's drinking heavily, I'm sure, and it looks like a lot of fun, right? It's actually really, really bad for your hot tub and the hot tub's equipment. There's really no way to eradicate the possible damage that can come from that other than draining your hot tub, doing a biofilm clean out, and then starting fresh. So you don't ever want to add things like bubble bath. You also don't want to add things like Epsom salt or bath bombs, anything like that to your hot tub. It could really damage the hot tub's equipment. And the only way to fix that, like I said, is to drain it completely and start fresh. So if you want to have a bubble bath, by all means, go inside to your bathtub and have a bubble bath there. Don't do it in the hot tub. Okay, so just to quickly sum up, foam in a hot tub is never a good sign, but unless the water is in really, really bad shape, it's also discolored and really smelly, you don't need to drain it and start over. Just treat the water with shock, sanitizer, make sure the alkalinity and the pH are correct. Make sure your filters are clean. You should be cleaning those every 3 weeks with a kitchen sprayer and then doing a deep chemical soak about every 3 months or so. Those things will take care of 95% of the foam problems any of you are having. The other things though that can lead to hot tub foam are pH levels that are way too high. And like I've mentioned in the video, you always want to start by balancing your alkalinity and then getting your pH right. You'll never get the pH right if your alkalinity is off. Then lastly, it could be a problem either with total dissolved solids, in other words, hair, which I see like in my hot tub right now, or sand that came in off of your feet, or dirt, other things like that, debris. Usually that's a problem because your filters aren't clean. Or maybe you don't have your filter program set to run a filter cycle often enough. But total dissolved solids can lead to hot tub foam. Also, soft water is another culprit. In other words, low calcium levels in your water that you're using to fill your hot tub up with. In that case, that's an easy one. Just add a calcium increaser to your water. I'm linking to my favorite one down below in the description on Amazon. But if you think your water is soft, then just add some of that calcium increaser and that'll take care of it in an instant. But that's all I've got for you today. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try and cut down on the introductions, and figuring that most of you are watching many of my videos and you know who I am, but it's Jeff Campbell, channel's Hot Tub Owner HQ. I also have the website hottubownerhq.com, and I will see you guys in the next video.